GingerGM.
Welcome, doodly doo. It's been a long time. Sorry about that. I'll explain why it's been a long time at the end of the video if you want to hang around until then. But hopefully it's all going to be worth it, because look, I've got the green screen back. Oh yeah. And I've got, is that Karpov over there? Karpov and Tau looking at the chessboard, and I'm in the middle of the chessboard. Anyway, I'll explain that a bit later on. I'm going to now play a long play game, and hopefully I'm not playing a cheat. Please don't let it be a cheat. Don't be a cheat. I have set my things until, to only take requests from Diamond members, but is this guy Diamond member or not? It doesn't look like he is. I don't know why that hasn't worked, but hey ho, if he's a cheat, he's a cheat. What can we do? I'm so paranoid now. But anyway, we'll still enjoy it because I get to play a game against a game anyway, where I'll go through my thoughts. So I'll tell you about my new setup. I'll tell you what I've been doing. I'll tell you about my life, the woes, the cons, the ups, the downs. I'll bore you after this video, but let me do the chess stuff first. And thank you for coming back to watch this video. I'll be doing plenty more coming up in the future. So my opponent has played g6. So he's either going for a Grunfeld system or a King's Indian defence. I'm going to play knight to c3, which is the main move here. Just awaiting to see what my opponent will do. So he's gone for the King's Indian defence. Now, this is an opening which I also play with black on occasions. It's a very aggressive opening, favoured by such greats as Bobby Fischer and later on Garry Kasparov. And I'd say nowadays Radjabov is one of the leading players in England, Gwaine Jones. The main move here is pawn to e4, which I will play. And this is really a fight between two different ideas. White gains the centre and black has quite a cramped position, but a lot of potential later on. Black has ideas. His main idea really is to go c5 or e5. These two breaks I've got to watch out for. And he can decide that depending on what I play next. Now, the line I recommend in my Killer D4 DVD, which I think is about 12 hours of instruction, is a line I'm going to play here. And this is actually something I had a couple of weeks ago against Gwaine Jones. Gwaine Jones about 2650. I had the white pieces in this precise position, and maybe we'll get the same opening. And that game ended in a draw. And the line I play is an interesting line where I put a bishop on e2, and then I put a bishop on e3. Now, after this game, I will show you a new line which I haven't had time to study, but I'll show you the latest problems that black is encountering. It's not with bishop e2, it's another line, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to what I know. And here I develop my other bishop to e3. Now, I put my bishop on e2 to stop knight g4, which is an annoying move otherwise. And one of the main ideas of not developing my knight here is so that I keep control of the g4 square. And this is very important for me, because I can actually play the move g4 later on, potentially even in this position. Now, my opponent has played knight a6, so he still hasn't decided whether he wants to play c5 or e5. Black has to play one of these moves in this position in order to get a grip on the center. So the normal idea here is for me to play g4, and this is one of the main ideas of this opening. So I'm just going to continue with this idea. Now, probably what my opponent should do, actually Queen d2 is also a good idea. Probably what my opponent should do, as soon as I play g4, I always think black should play the move c5. e5, my plan then is to close it down with d5, and this move g4 is not, it's a half aggressive move, but it's also a half restrained move, because one of black's main ideas in this opening is to go to e5. I play d5, and if you can imagine that locked pawn structure there, black then wants to move his knight away and play f5. Boom! Get the f pawn breaking, coming through on the wing over there. But my pawn on g4 makes the f5 break a lot harder. we may well see this. So, of course, against e5, I now continue with d5. And if he ever tries to play f5 now, I always have the option of going g takes f5 when my opponent has to go g takes f5. You may note that I haven't castled yet. My opponent has castled. So if you can imagine, after that change of pawn structure, I'm going to have an open g file to attack along. So that's one of the positional ideas of this opening. It's really to restrain black. In the King's Indian, white always has a space advantage, so you want to try to control the position somewhat and stop black getting this active play, which black often gets in the King's Indian defence. That's one of black's main ideas, to get this active King's Indian defence play. Okay, well, now my opponent's played c5. This reminds me of an old Petrosian game. Black is trying to close the position down. I'm pretty convinced now he's not a computer, because a computer wouldn't play in such a closed way. So, and his idea now is just to keep things closed. And now because the pawn structure is locked, you can see it's like stuck together. A bit like if you've seen the 2019. It reminds me of the 2019 World Cup logo, or 2018 Chess World Cup logo in England. I'll try to get a picture of that afterwards. It's a bloody joke. It's pornographic, the logo. Go and check it out. I'll get it up for the next video. Okay, but now we see the other idea of g4, and can you guess what it is? Who is my best friend on the chessboard? Who do I like more than anyone else? Who is he? What's his name? Can I hear you shout it? Can I see an H? Can I hear an H even? If I see an H, that would be weird. Can I hear an H? Can I hear a Harry? Here he comes, Harry! Oh, yeah. And this is the other idea. And the other idea is to try to suffocate my opponent by getting Harry to H5. And then I always have options of attacking on the H file when I get my position more developed. Maybe I can combine that with Queen D2, Bishop H6. Boom! That's one idea. And the other idea is to also just to restrain him again, because when I go H5, when you're playing chess, when you have a closed position like this, there's different types of positions you will get in chess. You have to basically realize what position you're in, and that depends on the pawn structure. The pawn structure here, no pawns are exchanged, so there's not many open lines, so it can't be an open position. The pawns in the center are all locked, meaning there's no captures that are available in the center. They're the 2018 logo, they're locked in like this. And when you have a closed, locked structure, you really have a longer maneuvering game. There's more tactics in open positions, when there's open lines, when there's flying pieces coming along. This is more maneuvering game. And what you always need to look for, which are more important in closed structures, are pawn breaks. Because my opponent here doesn't really have any activity. He can't really do much here. So I need to consider what pawn breaks my opponent is going to try to do, because that's the only way that black is going to be able to get some activity. So the only pawn breaks that black can play in this position, this is very typical for the King's Indian defence. We talked about one, f5, and the other one is b5. Now, if I can restrain both of those pawn breaks for the rest of the game, in my eyes, unless I get hit by some horrible tactic, there's no way I should ever lose this game. Because my opponent's pieces don't have any activity. What plans does my opponent have? I know this from experience of playing these positions for black and white for a long period of my life. But look at my opponent's pieces. The bishop on g7 is actually quite a bad piece often in the King's Indian defence. The knight on f6 doesn't have any purpose. The knight on a6 at the moment can't do anything. My opponent needs to play a pawn break. So I'm trying to do this idea, which I do in nearly every game of chess. This is how you win at chess. It's a two-part idea. Restrain your opponent's ideas in this position, his pawn pushes, his pawn breaks, and push your own ideas. So make sure you can make slight improvements to your position. Look for the pawn breaks you have. Look for ways to improve your pieces. Think where your king's going to be. Now again, because it's a closed position, the positioning of my king is not so important. You have to worry more about your king when there's open lines, when there's more tactics, when your opponent can get through to your king. Now my opponent here is playing an interesting idea. He's going h6, and the idea of this, when your opponent makes a move, always think what his idea is. He wants to meet me pushing with h5 with the counter push g5. Now I think that is okay for me, because then I have a very big square on f5 I can try to maneuver a knight to. Imagine I get a knight to e3, a knight to g3, I can try to get a knight into f5. But on the downside, the position becomes extremely closed. And when I say closed, you know, I've been talking about closed positions, but there is a limit. If you lock everything up, you need to make sure you have one pawn break. And I also like keeping the tension. I mean, h5 is a move that's not going to run away. I don't need to worry about that move. But this also does give me another option, which I should consider. That's g5. Now previously g5 was maybe not so strong because my opponent didn't have to break his pawn structure up. But if I go g5 now, doesn't he have to take on g5? So let's have a look. g5, pawn takes g5, h takes g5, opening up the h file, knight to h7, attacking my pawn on g5. And then maybe he will play f6 and get some activity on the f file. I mean, that position I don't think is bad for me. But again, the threat is stronger than the execution. And I think I want to get my knight on g1 into the game first. Before, I don't need to play these moves yet. But if I play f3, can he then play h5? Can he then play h5? Because at the moment he can't play that because I'll take it. But if I play f3, it blocks that. So I've got to be aware of this idea. Well, I can go here, h5, knight to this square, and then play around his pawn on h5. I could also put a bishop on g5 and play like that. So f3 is looking quite tempting. Let's just look at g5 one more time. So g5 pawn takes, maybe bishop takes g5 with the intention of playing h5 next and just trying to open things up like that. That'd be the way to get a tactical mess going. I mean, when you have control of the position, normally you don't want to, you don't need to overcomplicate and mess things up. But I'm thinking, how do I improve? If f3, he goes h5. I don't really want him to block with h5, even though I'm still not terribly concerned about that position. I'm liking g5 more and more. Bishop takes g5, trying to play h5. Queen b6 looks natural to break the pin. Just need to do a little bit of calculation. Queen d2, knight to h7, bishop h6, and in that position he can play f5, so he gets some play. He's going to get very tactical. I think I'm going to go for it. I've got an instinct that tells me that this is probably the correct move to play. This wouldn't have been as strong if his pawn was back on h7. In actual fact, it'd be a bad move, because then he wouldn't have to take on, he doesn't have to open up his own king. But I suppose the principle is his king is over here, so why not open up his king position by playing this g5 move. Now pawn takes g5. I think bishop takes is one I want to play, because I want to go bishop takes and then h5, and then open up not just the h file but also the g file. Probably I want to then go queen d2, castle queenside, try to get my rook to g1, my knight to f3, and then checkmate that little guy over there. Boom! Boom, king. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I don't want to go pawn takes because of knight h7. I don't have enough development to checkmate him there. I think I'm going to stick with bishop takes because this keeps my lever of h5 available. So I'm going to put him in the pin, and this is my threat, Harry 5. I certainly want to play h5. I don't like my opponent's c5 move because it also takes away a very important square for my opponent's knight. Often black relies on that square for the knight to gain counterplay. Now I think my opponent should play queen b6. Now, ideally, I would not like to defend this pawn. Can I even get away with playing h5 there? Let's think about that. Queen takes b2. Can I try to trap his queen with some knight to b5? Well, then he takes on e4. So I don't want to drop this pawn. That instinctively, if I had more time, if it's a long play game, I'd be looking in that position and wondering, do I have rook b1, queen takes here as the way to trap his queen there? But I don't. Okay, he's put his queen over here now. So his idea is to have the possibility of moving his knight probably to this square. Now, knight to b5 drops this pawn. I don't want to be doing that yet. If h5, he will go knight to h7. I have to then move my bishop and he will go f5. And one thing is, when he goes f5, look, I'm going to be attacking him over on the king side. So even though my bishop is clearly better than his bishop, swapping off a piece around his king does weaken his king. So positionally, a move such as queen d2, which I'm going to play, is maybe not correct, but tactically it's correct. And you've got to always have a trade-off between the positional things you're doing and the tactics you're trying to achieve. I don't really want to swap off his bishop on g7 because it's not very good. You know, it's not a great piece. But tactically, when I do swap it off, I get rid of a very important defender of his king. And by playing my queen here, other little benefits are I'm ready to castle over here very quickly. So I'm now probably against knight h7, just going to play bishop to h6. This is the main way I'm thinking. So knight to h7 is the one move which I know from experience I should be keeping an eye out for. I'm then going to play bishop to h6. So then it gets quite critical because I have allowed him to play the move f5 there. And I'm hoping I can counteract with the move h5. And then I'm hoping later on I will open up enough lines that I will be able to get some attacking chances against my opponent's king because he's played moves such as f5, and I'm going to tuck my king over there. My opponent's also got to watch out for this knight b5 move. This is quite annoying for him. I mean, knight h7, can I go knight b5? Okay, now he's played this move. This is a move, my next move is totally forced. I cannot allow my opponents play knight to f4. This is a typical idea in this position. Again, from experience, I know. Because if his knight gets that square, even if I win a pawn on that square, his bishop becomes a blooming beast. It becomes the Loch Ness bloody bishop monster. And I don't want that on my chessboard. I want it in the ocean. So, okay, so I'm going to take that one. This is... It's clear to me this is the right way to play. Now, right, well, I could play bishop h6 straight away, but it strikes me now, if I get a rook to the g file, bishop h6 is going to be incredibly strong. Now, if I move my knight to f3, has he got bishop g4? If I move my knight to e2, does he have bishop g4 again? Is he going to play f5 next? Well, if he plays f5, I mean, I want to play knight. I really want to play knight e2, bishop here. Then can I go? I think I'm going to be able to play f3 there anyway, aren't I? I mean, I can also put my knight on b5 here. Again, I mentioned this move before because how does he defend this one? If I go knight b5, if he has to play his queen to this square, that disjoints his army. So let's just check. Knight b5. How else does he defend this pawn? I can't see any other way. So I'm going to put this here. This looks like it improves my position anyway because it stops his knight coming back to c7. He can't move his knight because I have my knight coming in. I'm threatening to take this very big pawn on d6, and most importantly I'm trying to force him to play queen d7 because then I've also disjointed his bishop on c8, and as soon as he moves his queen here, then I can continue with knight to e2 because I don't have to fear some annoying-ish move like bishop to g4. Bishop to g4 is a bit annoying because it blocks my g file, you know, if he puts a piece in the way. And with a knight on e2, if he ever goes queen g4, I either take on d6 or I go rook g1. And my main idea here is just to play knight e2, rook g1, bishop h6, take on there, checkmate, boom, boom, thank you very much, wham, bam, thank you, Mr. Black Kingy. So that's my idea. So it's actually looking like my opponent is in a critical position now. Now, should he get desperate and play something like f6? Well, if he does, there's two options. I can consider going tactical with knight takes d6. Well, there's three options. I can consider bishop h6, continuing my plan of getting rid of the only defender of my opponent's king. Or I could even consider just keeping my bishop. But against f6, the lazy move, the move that requires no calculation, and sometimes in chess you don't really need to calculate. I think this game is an example of that. I mean, I could calculate knight takes d6, but I'm just playing with general principles here, and I'm not really. I haven't calculated even further than one or two moves, and I'm just going to play this move bishop h6 because instinctively it gets rid of the last defender of his king, and when I get a rook to the g file, that means my attack becomes stronger. I mean, of course, like I've mentioned, this bishop is a terrible piece, as we can see, but you have to swap the positional considerations for tactical motives, and checkmate ends the blooming game. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in his pipe and smoke it. Now I can actually see this is the first time I've used the green screen for a long time, and if my face is flickering grey and red, it means I haven't got the settings quite right. So I'm going to check this video afterwards. So do give me your feedback now. I mean, on the plus side now, I've got a new computer, and I must thank every one of you. Every one of you has helped me get this far, because I haven't been able to afford a new computer for a... oh, should I just get hit by some horrible tactics? Shit. Bollocks. Okay, that was stupid. This is like ridiculous. I mean, one move, and I also didn't want to swear today, and I have. The one move I should have watched out for is this and this, and I didn't. But I think I should be okay. Bishop takes here, check. King here. He's taking there with check. Oh, this. What the flipping heck have I done, Simon? You are a mongoose sometimes. Why did I do that? Well, I've got to take there. This is ridiculous. I should not be blundering like that. Okay, I'll tell you more about the bloody video quality and all that crap later. I thought, for some reason, I forgot my knight is not defending this pawn, and maybe I should actually calculate more than one or two moves. A little lesson to be learnt there. Okay, because I was positionally doing fantastic, and I've just blundered like a fucking idiot. Okay, anyway, let's not worry. Okay, things are still okay. One thing to not do is panic. So don't panic. Okay, right, don't panic. Okay, I'm still okay. I'm still okay. Don't panic. You fucking mongoose. Okay, right. Now, if I go knight e2, he takes the rook with check. And that was just so slack. I was totally in control of the game. Don't get angry with yourself. Just don't come back. Okay, so what I should be thinking now is, if I move the king, he takes on c4 check. Is queen e3 okay? Queen e3 at least forces his queen to do something. Like take another piece. Oh, fucking hell. Queen... Oh, gee. Have I completely just blundered? God! Not sorry, God. It's not your fault. It's my fault for being an imbecilic ginger. If any of those are words. Well, maybe I have to go king f1. Queen e3, he could take there, and he's threatening this one. Okay, well, right, well, at least made a game of it. Anyway, yeah, like I said, the other good thing, I've now been able, because I was saying how much I was thanking you guys. Okay, forget about the game. The game, I've made one little blunder. Maybe I'm still okay. We'll have a look at it again a bit later on. But I have managed, from you guys supporting me through my streams, through the support of this YouTube channel, from buying my DVDs, I've now put myself in a position where I've just brought another computer setup. So I brought a higher power computer. I managed to paint the green screen, which I've managed to basically get in a much better position. I'm able to stream at the highest definition now, and hopefully the quality will be good. This video is a bit of a test video. I haven't done the green screen for a while, but again, I must massively thank every one of you who has helped me get into this position through the support you've given me. So thank you very much, and I apologise for the bad quality of this crap game, which I am bloody now forced to be bloody playing. Okay, right. Oh, that was such a bad Blunder. God, there I was, lyrically waxing you all, and I've just blundered like a complete and utter pleb. Okay, right, well, I'm going to be 2 pawns down, but I still have some positional things. Bishop h6 was such a bad move. I should have just gone bishop e3. We'll come back to that later on. Now, I have to keep my rook, don't I? It's a pity. I mean, I want to go here, but if I move knight f3, he goes queen takes. If I check, he has this bishop g4 move. Again, I've let his queen in my position. So I have to play f3. So I think now I'm going to play a little bit quicker. My moves are looking reasonably forced here. I'm going to have to like drop all my pawns. Again, very stupid tactical play. I don't think I've blundered like this in this time limit for a while. Maybe a bit rusty. But anyway, it was just that it shows you that you need to double check all your moves. That was one problem, which obviously I didn't do in this game. I saw bishop h6. I should have really looked at any possible threats my opponent had after that. There's only one, queen g6. One thing you should always do, no matter where you are in a game situation, is double check your moves. And a lesson learned here, I did not double check my moves, and I just allowed this queen g6 move. Positionally, I was in control, and I was saying, oh yeah, how well, you don't need to calculate, and then you blunder. Well, you do need to calculate. Okay, let's do some calculation now. Well, if he goes queen takes c4 check, I can swap queens, but I'd like to play knight e2. So let's have a look. Knight e2, queen takes b5. Rook here check, king h7. That stops everything because I can't get my queen in. So I can't drop my knight. This move is forced. So, okay, we're now both a bit short of time. It's not completely game over yet because, in actual fact, I mean, this may just about still be okay for me because even though I've lost 2 pawns, I think my position was so good anyway, it's probably still rocking and rolling. Okay, so I'm going to take with a knight. And I've got ideas now of a check, knight g3, knight takes d6. So actually, this is not complete travesty at the moment. I'm not going quite Shakespeare style, quite Macbethish at the moment in style, but we might be soon. Okay, so now he's always got king here, has he not? Now, what am I going to do to cause him some chaos? Well, maybe I need to check him anyway, because that gives the possibility and it gives me the open file. He's probably going to put his bishop here. Now, I could try to get my knight into e4. This check, just to see if he moves his king to the wrong square. I don't know, I just want to see where he puts his king. Okay, he's put it there. Now, if I go knight here, I'm thinking he wants to move his bishop out, doesn't he? His only square for his bishop is here. So at least if I can try stopping moving his pieces to where they want to go. And this move, well, he's got this check as well, hasn't he? That's a very annoying check. So, okay, well, if I go here, bishop here, knight here, he has here. That's also annoying. This is just bloody... Okay, this has to be correct because I'm threatening his pawn and I'm also threatening to come here and try to win this one. So this is he's still got some issues he needs to solve in this position. I mean, if I can take here, my rook has this chance to come to this square. My knight on b5, excellent piece. And with king f2 coming, his rook is tied down. His pieces are very bad. So, this is not completely game over. It's just game over. No, actually, I don't know. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the computer says. Obviously, the computer would like black, but I don't know how clear it is. It just shows you how dominating the opening had gone for me. We'll have a look at the game afterwards, and then I'll tell you my life story. So you'll be here for another couple of hours. I would like to tell you also I'm streaming today at 4 p.m. GMT if you are available for that. Okay, right, now let's think quickly. Now, if I take here, if I take here, I'm threatening in ways with my rook. Do I have okay, so there's some tactics. Takes. I've also just wondering if I should just play rook d1 here, but then his knight is going to come to d4, so I need to do something a bit more aggressive. Knight here or knight takes here. Well, I think I'm going to take this one. I need to take a pawn. I need to give myself at least activity for my rook. So this if I can get my rook in the game, okay, then my rook is playing. Now, if I go king here, he has one check, but then king e3, and his knight seems to be misplaced then. So I'm going to place my king upon e2. A pawn? When have I ever said a pawn? It sounds weird. I'm going to place my king upon e2. Very weird English. Okay, right. So I'm thinking that he probably should take here when I either have a check or rook d1. Now, rook d1, his king comes here, but then I have knight g7 check. So if he takes here, rook d1, in actual fact, every single one of my pieces is working then. If I go check straight away, king to e6, and I don't see my next move. So I'm going to keep the pressure on by playing quickly. I guess he's going to go a6 then. That's annoying. That is annoying. But okay, that's annoying because he's got this little intermezzo. A6 is a very annoying move here. We call it an intermezzo when it's a move, in the middle of things. Because if he didn't have a6, he'd be in trouble here. If he moves his knight, I'd take on d6. If he goes king here, I have knight g7 check, winning a piece. But he has to play a6. And after a6, what am I going to do? So we have to start continuing thinking about that. Well, I have knight back. Seems a little bit wet, but at least my knight has c4. Does the rook check get me anywhere? King here. Then I have knight check. Knight takes knight. Rook takes here. Threatening knight g7. Checkmate. Yeah. But I expect he can stop that threat pretty easily. Okay, he's come here. Well, I thought that was just a blunder, but you could see there was a lot of pressure against his position. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to win a piece here. Let's just make sure. Okay, we don't need to think. This check is clearly the best move. Maybe he was thinking he could bring his king here, but then I have knight c3 at the end, defending my rook on that square. So this check is working, I think, pretty well for me here. Because I've undefended his knights on d5. So it just shows you that actually, whoever said chess is 99% tactics, perfectly right. I mean, the positional things going on in this game, me playing a nice opening, grinding away, stuff like that, didn't make any difference because I missed that one mover. But then after that, I've got some tactics going, and of course he's now lost and he's decided to resign. Maybe a little bit prematurely there, but he is a piece down. I mean, well, that was a strange game, wasn't it? Okay, well, let's have a look. Why did he resign? Well, the point is he moves his king, something like king here. I win the piece here. He can try king c6, but after knight c3, I have a good blockade. I mean, if I was black, I wouldn't have resigned here because there's still potential. If he can ever move his d-pawn, he may have some chances. I mean, for example, b5, threatening b4. And to my eyes, actually, this game still looks at it quite murky. I mean, it must be better, but it's murky. So before I tell you a little bit about what I'm doing, what I've got planned for the future, I will have a look at this game, and we will, well, basically the opening is, as I've said, the King's Indian Defence. And this opening is a very good opening for those of you to play with black if you want an aggressive way of facing d4. It's a very aggressive and interesting opening. Now, the current line, which actually so I think it was Niels Grandilius told me about over a curry at the London Chess Classic, that white is playing in this position is, let me get this correct, it's h3 here, and now after castles in this position, now bishop to e3, and this has a very similar idea to my plan of going bishop e2. And the idea is, let's say he goes e5, d5, and now a typical idea in these positions, knight to e8, trying to play the main break, we discussed this earlier, f5. Because I have good control on the king side, I can play something like g4. And now if he plays f5, I can at least open up the g file. His king is over there, my king is yet to be decided, and this gives white some decent chances. So this is actually the new idea, this and bishop e3. Now, why is this meant to be better than, should we say, the way I played? Well, the reason is the bishop is actually, in some respects, better on f1 than it is on e2. It's actually better not being developed. Why is that? Because in some positions, let's say if a5, a typical idea to try and get the knight to c5 and stop me playing b4, I now have the e2 square available for my knight on g1. And remember, in the actual game, my knight on g1 was lacking any squares. So I can play maybe g4 first, knight a6, knight e2, knight c5, knight g3. And look at how fantastic this knight is. It defends e4, and later on I may be able to sacrifice it on f5. So this is the trendy way to play. I haven't looked at this at all. This is just what another grandmaster told me over a curry and a bottle of wine at the last chess event I played at, the London Chess Classic. Now in the actual game, this bishop e2 and bishop e3 is very interesting. And I had this against Gawain Jones at the London Classic. He played c5 and I went e5. Maybe I'll do a video on that later on, so we won't look at that too much here. But the way my opponent played is pretty normal. Now, I always think that c5 is a better option than black here, because this gives black ways of keeping the position open after d5, e6. This, in my eyes, is black's best way of playing against g4, because at least now black can try to take on d5 and get some activity with his rook on the e file. Because the issue my opponent had in the game was that he never had any open lines to play on. I mean, c5 I consider a bad move here, because now he has no activity. h4, I want to play h5, completely suffocate him over there. And after h6, well, g5 looked pretty good. And this position, I have to admit, looks pretty terrible for my opponent, because he has no breaks. He wants to play f5, but it's so hard for him to play it. He has to break the pin so he can move his knight in order to play f5. And now, the way the game went, let's just go up to where I blundered. This position is fantastic for me. Knight b5 is okay, f6, and now I played this horrendous move of moving my bishop here straight away. I would say, positionally speaking, had I just played my bishop back to e3 and actually done a little bit of calculation, my opponent is probably losing here positionally, because I have everything I want. I have my knight coming to e2. Why e2 rather than f3? Always think about the future potential of your pieces. Where is it going on f3? Nowhere. Where's it going on e2? It's going to g3 and then into f5 or to h5. So my plan here, simply knight e2, rook g1, bishop h6, castles queenside, and I think my opponent is verging on losing here. For a start, he has to defend this pawn, and let's just see how the game could have continued. Knight e2, and this just looks horrible for him. I have an open file to attack my opponent's king on the king side. That must surely be good for me. So the move I played, it just shows you that, you know, even grandmasters, you need to move a little bit more care, and you need to double check. I mean, just keep your eyes open for all possibilities. And bishop h6, I should have seen this idea of queen g6, and now you might have guessed I'm a little bit annoyed with myself at this moment. When he took on e4, well, this position is probably good for him. I mean, the good thing is he can't take on h1 here because my queen comes over to h6, so he probably has to take here, and this position looks a little bit grim for me, but maybe it's just about okay. What I was more concerned about here was him moving his king to h6. This move had me more worried, because now how do I get my pieces in? I can't move my knight to h5, and the only other idea I have is moving my knight to e4 in order to attack this pawn. But whenever I play a move like knight c3, he stops my plan. Remember, restrain your opponent, push your own ideas. This is what my opponent should be doing. Can he restrain me by playing f5? Actually, even here, I now have the g5 square, so this is not so clear. I can play rook g5, king f2, rook g1. So even though I blundered, it was a brilliant sacrifice. And that's what happens. That's why I'm a grandmaster and you're not. Cool, that's a bit arrogant, wasn't it? Well, I have to keep. I'm obviously joking. A very bad joke, but I'm not very good at jokes. So, but yeah, but that is kind of actually one of the funny things. I often see grandmasters losing a pawn, and later on they just say it was a sacrifice. What are you talking about? And I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. This is what we used to do when we don't believe someone. Whatever, Pinocchio. And then if a lower rated player plays it, then you're like, well, you just blundered, didn't you? And they're like, yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah, I'm just trying to blag you. So maybe grandmasters are just better liars, and they're luckier. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the key, the eternal chess key. We're just luckier, and we're better at lying. There you go. That's all you need to know. Right. So, like I was saying earlier, I'm trying out this new green screen setup. I have noticed that my face, I don't have some weird disease as far as I'm aware of. I did well, I better get checked up soon, but just in case. My face is going like red and then grey, red and grey. I mean, maybe I am just have some weird disease. But if you actually, I mean, I'm not, an expert at computer, but this is a trial run for my green screen setup, and I hope you can see the potential of this, that it will look bloody good in the future. If you actually know some way to change this, that'll save me googling it, and I'm just being a bit lazy. I'll google it and get rid of the greyness in my face for a later date. But hopefully this looks glorious now in 1080p. I'm able to stream at the highest level, 60 frames a minute. I'll be able to stream now, I'll be able to do videos and that. I wasn't able to do that before, and this is really, again, thanks to you, everyone who watches my YouTube channel, those of you who have donated, those of you who have brought a GingerGM DVD. Obviously that money, I have to pay the rent first, but any money I save, and I have been saving, has gone towards this new setup I have with a new computer, which is going to help me do more free stuff. I've got some brilliant ideas, I think, for the future for 2018. It's going to mean I'm going to have to maybe slow down some of my YouTube production, because it'll be worth it, trust me. But I'm aiming now, I'm going to get back into it a bit now. I don't have much chess coming up, but some of the ideas I've got, I think, are going to be pretty cool. They're going to be pretty darn cool. It's going to take a lot of work on my part, not really of any financial gain, but like I said, those of you who want to support me by buying a DVD, buying one of my courses from GingerGM.com, that's a way to help. But yeah, what else have I got planned? Well, I'm streaming today. If you get this in time, you might miss it. 4 p.m. GMT. This is on a Tuesday. I'll try to do another one around Christmas. Fiona, I want to get doing some stuff with Fiona. She's up for it as well, and so we'll be streaming soon. Other people got lined up, so it's gonna be an exciting little 2018, I think. And if I don't see you before then, have a blooming good Christmas. I've been fattening myself up for Christmas. I'll continue to do so. Maybe try to get a bit healthier in the new year. That's what everyone tries to do. But thank you for watching this, and it's good to be back. And it's good to be back with my green screen, with some funky stuff coming up. Now, before I do log off, actually, let me just show you this. If I can find it, let me just show you this logo. This is the logo of the Chess World Championship. Give me your opinion on this 2018. Oh my god, it is something out of the Kama Sutra book. It really is. Let me just see if I can get it. Where is it? Oh, it's going to take me ages to find. I'm not going to waste my life doing this. I'll tell you what, I know it was on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, and it was on where was it? It was on, let me have a look, notifications, where is it? My home. It was on David Smurden's Twitter account. David Smurden, Australian Grandmaster. Get yourself. I mainly do Twitter, by the way. I'm not really a Facebook person. You can see everyone I follow here, so I'm showing you who I follow. There's my mate Lawrence Trenty boy, another good friend of mine. Exhibit videos. Go and check out his videos. He's a legend. I don't know why he doesn't have more followers. He's got some great stuff on pattern recognition. You will improve your chess. I'll be doing some streams of him. Nigel Short, least said about him the best. Olympia, great. Did I just say that about Nigel? I love Nigel, really. I'm only joking. You know, Olympia, a great historical guy in chess. I don't know the right word. I'm stumbling a bit now. Flaming Monocle, an old friend of mine from. He's a video editor, and well, do I need to introduce John Bartholomew? Quite possibly the nicest guy in the whole blooming world. I don't, I can't. I'm in out of his league. Full English breakfast. Look at this. Here we go. This is the logo. I mean, come on, honestly, boys and girls, whoever, what the hell are they doing with their legs? I mean, this is something the Kama Sutra book, you know. Okay, maybe if you need a chess sex position to spice up your life, you could give this a go. But should this really? I mean, what the hell is this? Is this really the logo for the 2018 World Chess Championships? I mean, I have to say, whoever invented that, it was probably like someone in London sitting in their office and Aegon got up to him, we need a logo, we have a budget, £20,000, give me a logo. And, you know, it's probably someone like me sitting in the office, a bit bored, it's near Christmas time, and they're thinking, right, well, I'll just Google Aegon. Right. Okay. Aegon. Okay. I don't. Okay. I know what. I'll make them a blooming logo. I'll make them a great logo. I will. And they think, I'll tell you what. I'll make it some spicy, sexy. I've been reading a bit of Kama Sutra. I've been trying to spice up my life with a girlfriend recently. It's not me. I'm just doing the person who made the logo. And they go, oh right. I'll tell you what. Let's make it a sexy logo. Oh yeah. Let's put that in their pipe and let them smoke it. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. And then they go, here you go, Aegon, here's your logo, that'll be £20,000, please. And they're like, oh yes, we really like this, it brings chess into the new millennium, very clever, very sexual design, very nice. I mean, come on, what the flipping heck is that all about? Anyway, I'll see you again soon, boys and girls. Hopefully I'll be back. I hope this video was recorded. It's my first test run, it's a bit of a long one. And leave your comments in the chat. Tell me what I can improve. Tell me what you think of the new setup. I think it's going to be as nearly as sexy as the logo.